Now that DanDaDan Season 2 has finished airing, I can finally come clean about something. I have spread misinformation about DanDaDan. How could this happen? Why did I spread misinformation? Well, before I tell you, I'd wager that there's a burning question in your mind. What misinformation? Sit down, take a breather. Okay, are you ready? In my best anime of 2024 video, I said that Shihei Lin, an editor at Shonen Jump, told Yukinobu Tatsu, which you all know as the mangaka of DanDaDan, to read shoujo manga, so he could have real human emotions in his new manga that turned out to be DanDaDan. But in my horror, the truth was that he was told to read romance manga and not specifically shoujo manga. Wait, that's it? I will be first to admit that this sounds like a nothing burger, which at first glance, yeah, it kinda is. At least, I thought so. Hearing that Yukinobu Tatsu's first drafts were so devoid of human emotion that him being told by his editor to read 100 shoujo manga was amusing to me, as I thought, of course Tatsu had to read shoujo manga to find actual human emotions, because shonen manga don't have those pesky feelings, am I right lads, So without knowing any better, I spread this little bit of misinformation and left it at that. Now when DanDaDan Season 2 was airing, this factoid resurfaced, and this was the point, where I learned that it wasn't shoujo manga, but actually just any romance manga. I still didn't think too much about it. Besides, a lot of bigger YouTubers did also spread this myth. Here is Jeff from Mother's Basement fame saying just a couple of weeks ago in his glowing DanDaDan endorsement.
His fortunes took a turn when Chainsaw Man and Spy Family editor Shihei Lin took him under his wing, forced him to read 100 shoujo manga to learn some emotions.
So not that big of a deal. Something must have lost in the translation. No biggie. Then I actually stopped for a second, and in my smooth brain, my last 2 remaining brain cells were hard at work, and came back with a question for myself to reflect. Why was I so quick to dismiss shonen romance manga as non-emotional and think that you need to read shoujo to get actual emotional feelings? There are plenty of shonen romance with actual human emotions that anyone could learn from. Here are just 3 with bloom in the title. Bloom into you, blooming love, and the fragrant flower blooms with dignity. The last one is actually typical shonen romance that gets mislabeled as shoujo constantly by Western audience and publishers who should know better. But that's not the point of this video. Go watch this Collins Manga Rex video if you want to learn more about why miscategorizing shonen as shoujo matters. So after some introspection, I realized that I had done a disservice to both shonen and shoujo manga. Sure, I know that shonen and shoujo are demographics and not genres, which still seem to confuse some people. But for a split second, I found myself in that all too familiar toxic masculinity mindset where I believed that romance instantly means shoujo, and since shoujo means girls, then obviously Yukinobu Tatsu had to read shoujo romance. Shonen means boys after all, and men don't have time for feelings and romance. We gotta fight, battle and punch. I do like to think that I'm above that, but I let this tale of misinformation spread because of my preconceived notion that still exists somewhere in the back of my brain. But it was good to get out. What makes it this bit worse for myself is that I could have fact-checked this, but didn't. The evidence was right there, which leads us to another interesting question, and that is, why did this fact about Yukino Tatsu having to read romance manga morph into having to read shoujo manga instead? Especially when the first-hand accounts and the news articles about the EMA Shihei Lin during the pre-screening of DanDaDan Season 1 all say romance manga. Well, I might have few answers. First of all, I want to say that don't go harassing anyone here. I hate that I have to mention that. The news articles during the screening don't make any mention of shoujo, at least from what I found. And the earliest example of someone making the claim that it was shoujo manga was this tweet but as you can see, it doesn't really have that much of engagement. It's like my videos, for real. Now, what I think spread this fake information are these two tweets. First one correctly mentions that it was romance manga, but it has this panel from Gekkan Shoujo Nosaki-kun, which I also used in my video. The panel in question mentions shoujo manga. The other tweet mentions that it was shoujo manga, and I've seen these tweets referenced few times now. It is now deleted, and it was even debunked here. To throw a wrench to this whole debacle, I found this interesting tidbit while writing for this video. This old Nikkei article where Tatsu actually said that he did in fact read 100 shoujo manga. The article is from 2022, so it's the oldest point of reference, but I have a reason to believe that he misspoke or was misquoted. If the translation is correct, I used AI to translate, because later down the line, everywhere I looked, either Tatsu himself or the editor would only mention that it was romance manga. Perhaps he did say shoujo manga, but later corrected himself. I don't know, and here is the link to the article, so that those versed in Japanese could take a crack at it. Even if it turns out to be true, it doesn't change my opinion about labeling romance as shoujo. Anyway, let's wrap up this video. There are obviously bigger deals that manga, anime, manhwa and manhwa face. Manhwa authors, for instance, are targeted by the Chinese government if they depict same-sex relationships, which is definitely more alarming than what happened with DanDaDan. But it's wise to point out misinformation, even if it's very minor. And this DanDaDan example is a very low stakes one, and I chose it precisely because of that. I doubt anyone is so dead set on their beliefs that they will furiously deny this bit of misinformation. No death threats are going to be sent, and no one's life is going to be under any threat if they spread it. I truly hope so, but humanity will find a new and exciting ways to disappoint all of us. For a bit more harmful example, recently the scriptwriter for Bocchi the Rock anime adaptation was attacked for censoring the bocce. How horrible, but I'm certain that the anti-censorship crowd had a good reason for it. So, what was the reason? Hold up, let me check my notes. She shared a behind-the-scenes tidbit where while she, the creator of Bocchi the Rock, and others in the team were discussing adapting Bocchi the Rock to the TV screen. So they came to the conclusion that Bocchi should wear a swimsuit during this bath scene. Yeah, that's it. This of course angered the anime tourists, who called for her head. What added to this controversy was that the scriptwriter was pushing her woke ideologue on her children, as shown by this tweet. This claim was based on this interview, which said that the scriptwriter doesn't push the gender norms for her children, and wants to support her child, even if he would pick up any girlish hobby, clothes or a toy, and not tell him that he can't do that, because boys don't wear or play with those stuff that society associates with girls. I know, horrible. These people who attacked her are not only anime tourists, they're also parent tourists. I don't think that term will really catch on. Also, Yoshida Erika wrote My Basi Witches, one of the best anime of spring 2025 season, so that makes her based. Anyway, I wanted to get this video out and show how easily misinformation spreads when we have no strong feelings one way or another. The DanDaDan example is a perfect use case. As I already said, that I don't believe that anyone holds the misinformation as the core pillar of their character, and it's easy to change your mind on that. When misinformation becomes more heinous is when someone has financial incentive to push it. In the future, when you see a piece of information, be it a YouTube video, Twitter post or an article headline that seems to be engineered to get an angry reaction out of you, take a step back and investigate the actual source. I've been burnt out by enough angry headlines and clickbait video titles that were either nothing burgers or grossly misinterpret what another person actually said, that I tend to have an opposite reaction where I'm actually surprised if the said article or video actually has factual information in it. I know it takes work, but it's worth doing that work than be angry for no reason at all. Thank you for watching, and if you want more in-depth discussion about this little factoid, then I highly recommend these two colleagues' manga read videos about DanDaDan and shoujo manga in general. They go way more in depth than I. Ooh, what else? I guess watch DanDaDan. Season 2 was really DanDaDan throwing balls to the wall and see what sticks. And most of it did stick. The budding romance between Okarun and Momo is the thread that keeps me watching alongside some spectacle in his fight scenes, even if there was nothing like acrobatic silky in season 2. And I suspect that the spectacle hit the fact that some of these fights didn't have much depth to them. Speaking of the romance, a lot of people have called it a shoujo romance, but honestly, I don't know what they mean by that. And more I look into what makes it a shoujo romance, it's good. And that sounds more and more disrespectful to both shoujo and shonen romance. That's a different video though. Also, go watch My Pussy Witches. It's great. Bye bye.